second and much more difficult problem which arises from null prices is the lack of apparent continuity of demand correspondences. Do you remember by Pacini? Suppose we have this initial endowment for our subject H, which contains 1 unit of good 1 and 0 units of good 2. When consider the price system, which is not a normalized price system, in this case it is irrelevant, P11, say P1, with components equal to 1. You obtain this budget constraint and these optimal points, say x1. Now consider this second price system, 1/2 1. Reduced to 1/2, the price is good 1, while the price is good 2, which is clearly numeraire, in this particular case, remains unchanged. So the budget constraint shrinks and becomes this. You have another optimal point, x2. And so, reduce the price of the first two to 1/3, and the budget constraint shrinks another time. You obtain x3, and so on, and so on, and so on. In the limit by n, for n which tends to infinity of this Pn is clearly the vector 0, 1, because the price of good 2 remains unchanged, 1, while the price of good 1 tends to 0. In the limit, the budget constraint, however, is not the limit of this series of budget constraints, not this segment, you remember, but it is all the half line. There is discontinuity, lack of lower hemi-continuity of a budget correspondence. So the case could be arise in which this sequence tends to a certain point x, but the optimal point in the limit is this x star. The sequence of this optimal point tends to a certain x in this segment, but the optimal point, in this case there is no monotonicity of course, is a point like this x star. So, the limit of this demanded balance is not the limit demanded balance. Sorry, the demanded balance in a limit situation. There is discontinuity, lack of apparent continuity of a demand correspondence, or if it is a function, lack of continuity of a demand function. Clearly, if some individual demand functions are not continuous, also the excess demand correspondence is not apparently continuous, and the fixed point theorem cannot be applied. To resolve this problem is not simple. There is some obvious ways. The simplest assumption is that for every subject, the initial endowment has all positive components. In other terms, the point xh is internal, like in this case, to the non-negative orthogonal. If you assume these, then the budget constraint is lower and continuous also in the price systems for with some null component. If you suppose that every individual owns a positive quantity of every good, then the budget correspondence is always lower hemicontinuous, even if the price system has some null component. And therefore, by openness of preferences, as Pacini showed you, the demand correspondence is upper hemicontinuous. And so we can apply the fixed point theorem, etc., etc., etc. But in reality, this assumption of a positive initial endowment is totally unrealistic. Each of us owns some quantities of some goods, but not a positive quantity of every good. So it was necessary to substitute this assumption with other ones, whose economic meaning, however, is not so clear. The results relativeness by arrow or the indirect results relativeness are very, very difficult properties, but it is possible to show that if this property holds, then an equilibrium exists, even if these vectors has some null component. However, these are difficult results. I limit myself to a mention of these theories. In my notes, all the results to which I made a reference are rigorously proved, but this part of notes is excluded from the problem. Now, to conclude this lesson, I tell you exactly what parts of my notes are excluded from the program, from the examination. Well, the part which begins from proposition 12, page 22. To proposition 15, page 31, are excluded. I am limited myself to illustrate them. Well, the remaining part of the notes must be studied. So also this part is excluded. It's 9 pages, which is the most difficult pages of all the text, are not an object of a final examination. Is it clear? Well.